Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
I'm Derek Lemaster.
And this is Screen Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week, go over the horror movie news, and we find different backgrounds for Derek. That's a good one this week, Derek.
It is. I felt like it was very appropriate.
Yeah, much spookier than the cheese grater that's usually behind you.
Whatever. There's usually a teapot and a little tiny house and a stack of cooking books. Cookbooks.
I'm gonna miss that little tiny house.
Mm-hmm.
That little tiny house did keep Lydia going through most episodes.
I should have put a light in it. That would have made it real spooky.
She just imagined that she lived there. She's like, that would be a nice, cozy place.
So, funny story.
Uh-huh.
And, everybody's got a hobby. So my brother's wife has a hobby. She makes like little stick hobbit houses.
That's amazing.
It is kind of amazing, actually.
That's cool.
Like, they're very impressive. They sent me some pictures.
Stick
and
hobbit houses. You probably could have sold it better.
I definitely could have sold it, but they are kind of like little models, yeah. But it looked like she went and collected some sticks and stuff like that and glued it together to make a little house. Maybe, if I can find the picture, I will put it up on the screen right here.
I love that.
Right there.
If not, you'll just see us. And we're lovely.
I will just make a fake house and pretend. What we'll do is, if we can't find the picture, I will just take a picture of the Amityville house and put it here, because you guys know how we feel about Amityville at this point.
Yeah,
just one of the best 70s movies ever made, right, guys?
It was a masterpiece in horror.
Oh shit! No, Amityville's not a masterpiece of shit. But we will be talking about today's movie.
That's a great segue into tonight's featured movie.
It's so I don't know if you guys have heard of this movie, but we'll get into it after we get to horror news. It's Children of the Night. So I know you're on pins and needles because most of you are thinking, what the fuck is that?
Rightfully so.
Which is a very natural response to have. So let's get into it, guys. Let's start with the horror news. The first piece of horror news we have here is some casting news on a Halloween staple, which is Hocus Pocus, the sequel to Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus 2 is being filmed.
Yeah.
I know Derek's a big fan.
Love
Are you a big fan, Lydia?
I'm a pretty big fan, yeah.
I'm ambivalent on Hocus Pocus. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either.
Have you consulted a doctor about that?
Since
that was
we're
a
putting
friend's
it out
joke,
there,
kinda.
Since we're putting it out there about Hocus Pocus, I loved Hocus Pocus growing up. I loved it so much. Now it is like its own thing that everyone seems to be really obsessed with it. But I was always very much in love with Billy Butcherson.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll do an episode next Halloween season for that. But we got some casting news. So the star of Werewolves Within, Sam Richardson, has joined the cast. Do you guys want to see what Sam looks like?
Let's see what he looks like.
Does he look like Billy Butcherson?
He does not look like Billy Butcherson.
It's his brother, Tommy.
It's
Butcherson.
Tommy
Is this
Butcherson.
a zombie? Just a zombie guy?
No, here he is.
Ah.
Right here. Sam Richardson from Werewolves Within. So he has just joined the cast. So the casting process is coming together. The plot of it is, if you guys don't know, 3 young women accidentally bring the Sanderson sisters back to modern-day Salem. They must figure out how to stop the child-hungry witches from wreaking a new kind of havoc on the world. Which kind of sounds like the plot to Hocus Pocus.
It does.
I digress.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I do feel like but really, what else would you do with them?
Nothing. I mean, you can't. I guess you can have them like open up a coffee shop or something.
Maybe that's
Yeah.
the ending. They're stuck here, and her book gets destroyed, and she has no magic, and she has to open up a coffee shop. There we go.
Wow,
We solved it.
that
We
sounds
broke
like
the
a
story.
movie that shouldn't be made.
Definitely. It sounds like it's going to be on par with Children of the Night. So,
Nothing's on par with that.
next bit of news is so we have a little bit of more Hellraiser news. So as you know, there's two competing Hellraiser properties. There is the David Bruckner's Hulu movie that they just cast a female as Pinhead, and then there's the David Gordon Green produced Hellraiser movie, TV series that's coming out for HBO. And David Gordon Green was talking about that. His HBO series is with Michael Dougherty and Mark Verheiden, who did Ash vs. Evil Dead, among other things. So he said, we got it over at HBO. That's not in the script form yet, but it's being developed. It's going to be fascinating because it's a different platform, different concept, different creators, but the same properties. I'm not sure where that ends up and how that goes. I'm very curious. It's a fun cultural experiment, right? There being two different competing Pinhead properties. So he's kind of taking it with like a grain of salt and, having fun with it. We kind of touched on this a little bit, but we haven't definitively answered. Do you think two competing Pinhead movies or two competing Hellraiser properties is going to saturate the market, or do you think it's good?
I've got an idea. Maybe I should write about it into them and see what they think. They should do a crossover, and it would be like a Hellraiser multiverse. What do you guys think?
Mm-hmm.
Like a Spider-Verse?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Hellraiser. Mm-hmm. Hellraiser verse. See what I'm saying?
That would be so terrifying, though.
It would be.
I love the way you exclaimed that. But Hellraiser!
Your excitement for it almost makes it work.
Makes it seem like a good idea. Yeah, almost.
I missed it by that much.
Hey, look, I'm open for multiple interpretations of this. I mean, as long as we get good quality product, and they're going to be two completely different beasts. If one's a feature film and one is a TV series, I mean, one's going to have an hour and a half to 2 hours to tell a story, while the other one's going to have long-form storytelling taking place. So I think there's definitely room for both of them. And I'm excited to see what the different concepts are for these. It'll be interesting. I think it's going to be fun, too.
Now, you've read the book, right?
Yeah, but it's been a long, long time since I read The Hellbound Heart. Like, we're talking after high school. So my early 20s. That's at least
35 years ago. Is what you're
you guys are hilarious.
But
when Derek was in high school, it was 150 years ago.
Oh, really? Now we're exaggerating by a little bit. No, I had a real question. So, was it a long novel, or was it just like a short story?
It's
as a point.
It's a novel. It's a novel.
Are either one of these properties gonna like resemble that novel, or it's just gonna be whatever direction they take it in? Do we know that?
Yeah, it is. So the new one is supposed to be the new Bruckner movie is readapting the Hellbound Heart, which is the plot for Hellraiser. The basic skeleton of the Hellraiser movie is the same as the Hellbound Heart, as far as the Cenobites, Frank Cotton, Kirsty Cotton, all that stuff. Him having her kill for him to bring him the flesh of the people. That is similar. It's just the mechanisms of hell itself are slightly different, and the Cenobites are different. In the novel, it's the Hell Priest, and he has a very small part. And then when they designed the movie, they created Pinhead, and he looked fucking awesome. And they're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna use this guy to sell this movie because he looks awesome."
They probably saw a story in the news where a guy got shot in the head with like a nail gun, and they're like, "Let's do that, put all over his head."
No, I don't think Happy Gilmore existed yet.
Very good. Very good.
don't talk about people getting shot with nail guns in this house.
Oh yeah.
No. Yeah.
Next
Yeah.
topic.
It happens. It happens from time to time.
Safety first, guys.
That's
Safety
right.
first.
Safety. That's
Safety
what
first.
I tell Clark that all the time. Safety first.
Yeah. This next bit, I'm going to share my screen. You guys are going to love this. So we've got another new horror adjacent action figure. You guys ready for this? What do you think of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Universal Monsters?
No.
Oh, I don't think that's that bad.
I think it's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
There's Raph as Frankenstein.
Okay.
I think that's the only design we have from NECA so
Oh,
far.
okay. I was like, is there more?
Is Raph. It says here the first of the Universal Monsters TMNT line. So it looks like we're going to get like other monster designs from the rest of the boys. What do you think of that?
Okay, that's pretty creative. I like that. I mean, it's
Derek, you
great.
seem to be a fan of this.
I'm not a fan.
Why not?
It looks like you took a Tootsie Roll and put it on his head and smashed it on the ground. I don't know.
Well, that's kind of how Frankenstein looks.
I mean, it
Like
kind of
smashed
is.
Tootsie Roll head.
But I don't know. You know what I was a really big fan of, and this is a little off topic, but hey, it's our time. You remember Monsters of the Gridiron? The
football?
Yeah, the NFL trading cards.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
were pretty cool. But anyway, it kind of did look a little cool. Just it's so weird.
That's what the turtles do.
Yeah, I'll have to think about it. I'll have to come to terms with it.
Especially I remember back in the day with the Playmate Turtles, they made like so many different. I mean, their goal was to sell toys, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, they
money.
had Rockstar Turtles, they had baseball, football, sports turtles, they had turtles in space. They had all kinds. I still have a bunch of them upstairs, which I will snap a picture of and put right here, so that way you guys can see them. The audience can see them. But yeah, I still have some of those turtles, believe it or not. I collect toys sometimes. So it happens.
You know, your kids are going to have a lot of fun
Squirtle!
with all your toys.
My kids are never going to touch my Jasons and Michael Myers and Freddy's.
And my dad, what's that? Don't touch it!
That's a beautiful Squirtle.
This is the turtle that always sits with me while I podcast. He keeps me company.
That's nice.
That's good.
Because you guys
I
aren't very
have
good company, so I have him.
Yeah, I can understand.
I mean, if
I
I
have
reach
Michael.
far enough, I can find a teddy bear.
I have Michael watching my back along with Ash and company. So I'm in good hands. All right, guys. The big news of the week. We're continuing our saga of
Dun,
Rob
dun,
Zombie's
dun. Oh,
Monsters.
God. Yeah, I saw these.
If you
So
haven't
here
seen them
are
yet,
the pictures. Here are the pictures of the cast in makeup. What do you guys think of this? How do you think they look?
I think Grandpa looks really great.
I like Grandpa. I like Lily.
Mm.
I think Herman looks like he's pooping in this specific
Well, that's
picture.
just a face he's making.
I
Yeah.
know, but I don't like Herman. I like the other two. His
I don't
voice
think
will
Herman looks bad.
make or break
Yeah, I
this.
don't think he looks bad. I think.
No,
I
don't
mean,
think Herman.
Herman always makes some like crazy faces, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
So
don't
I think
think
he
it
was
was
just
bad.
doing something silly.
Who is the actor who
I
plays
think-
Herman?
I just clicked off of it. I'll tell you who the actor that plays Herman is. It is I put Munster's cast and I got the original cast. I was like, that's not what I wanted. So playing Herman is Jeff Daniel Phillips. Sherry Moon Zombie, of course, plays Lily, and
Obviously.
Dan Roebuck plays Grandpa. What, you're not you guys aren't shocked that Sherry Moon Zombie is going to play Lily?
Nope.
I still am trying to like decide one way or another on that.
I'm going to stick with my
I
original skepticism about this project. I think he's going to screw it up. Hope I'm wrong. Hope I'm wrong.
I could be
Derek's
wrong too.
Derek's cup is always half empty. My cup is half full for this. I think he's gonna do a good job. I think it's gonna be fun. It looks fun.
Yeah, mine's about 25%. It's definitely not 50%. Not even approaching.
What do you think, Lydia? Your face is saying a bunch of things.
I know. I'm just like, kind of wish it wasn't her, but I haven't seen it yet, so I don't want to like judge. You know, like it's just gonna take me out of it. I feel like just knowing that it's her and that she's in every of his. You know, it's just one of those things. I guess.
I agree with that. I agree with her casting. It definitely feels and reeks of nepotism, you know. But hey, you know what? If my wife was an actress, I'd probably put her in most of my projects too. Sarah is not, so I don't have that problem.
There you go.
Thankfully, she steers as far away from it as possible, actually. And then this last bit of news, guys, is a little bit of fun. It's just because this will be the supplemental material to our Halloween Kills review that we're putting out. But this right here is a little bit of, I don't know if you guys saw this. I mean, I doubt you did because did you only watch it once, right?
I've only watched it once.
Yeah, Lydia, Halloween Kills, you watched once.
Yes.
So I've watched it 4 times. And I noticed this as well. Check this out. On the end scene where they're going to attack Michael, this woman's weapon is an iron.
I mean, from here, I thought it was a mixer.
It is an iron. You see it?
I mean, that's kind of like a brick.
That's an iron. I mean, that's a weapon. That's a weapon.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of this? Did this? You find this as funny as I did? I loved it. I was like, that's totally something that somebody would grab from their house.
I can't believe I missed that. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. I do think it is a weapon that you would grab from your house. I mean, it's got a metal base. It would hurt if you hit somebody in the face with it.
Especially if you use the cord and swung it like a mace, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember an iron fucks Freddy up in Freddy's Dead.
There you go. See? Case in point.
Of course, he comes back. But, I mean, so did Michael when he wrecked the fuck out of Haddonfield.
Yeah.
At the end of that movie. Stay tuned for our, listen to it. It's up. It's uploaded at this point. Listen to the Halloween Kills review. So, guys. Whew. Hope that was a good palate cleanser for you, because we're about to talk about this film that Derek recommended, a 1991 Tony Randal movie called Children of the Night. Let's talk about, like we do every week, let's talk about our experience with this movie and our memories of said movie.
So wait, before we go in there, do you guys recall how this movie came to be on our list?
I do. I recall it because you were asking me if I remembered the movie where vampires' lungs came out of their mouths and they breathe underwater.
So this is related to Popcorn. Because after we watched Popcorn, Lydia's like, man, you've watched some weird movies, Derek, or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing. And I was like, oh, yeah? Well,
I think the word was shitty, Derek.
Probably. I was like, have you guys seen the vampire movie where they puke their lungs out and they sleep underwater? And you're like, what? That movie doesn't exist. Oh, but hold my beer.
So let's start with you, Derek. You have a history with this movie. Tell us your history of this film.
Dude, I don't remember this film except for the fact that there were vampires that slept underwater with their lungs out of their body. That's the only thing I remember about this movie. So, I mean, that's the extent of my history. I remember watching that one part, but that's it. Good. Lydia, this is your first time watching this movie too, right?
Yes. Derek just explained my history with the movie also.
That is, that's great. That's my history with it as well, is Derek saying, do you guys remember this? And me saying, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. What do you mean?
I feel like his words were. I feel like his words were. Did you guys ever see the movie where the vampires had their lungs on the outside? Like,
yeah, that's what it was.
The whole. So it was just like where the lungs are on the outside.
So I was assuming that they just had lungs on the outside. Mm-hmm. I didn't know they turned into cocoons, puked them out when they slept underwater, and was in a movie that just makes no sense. So let's dive into this sumbitch. Let's get into the great film that is Children of the Night. So what I will say, guys, is the opening to this movie, the opening music, is pretty good, I feel like. I think the opening music is pretty good. I don't think it's bad. I think it sets a pretty cool tone. The opening titles are kind of neat because they're just that old school, letters with the lines over them. I kind of dug that as well. What do you guys think of this little opening title sequence?
It's the best part about the movie.
Yeah, I feel like the music. I can't exactly remember it, but I felt like it was kind of generic for that time.
It was, but it was nice. It was, like, oh,
like it
okay.
wasn't bad.
Made me feel like, yeah, it made me feel like I was watching a VHS, and I was like, oh, this is comfortable. I like this.
Yeah. So it's a nostalgic thing, but it's not like great or anything.
No, I'm not saying it's a John Carpenter piece. It's not one that we're obviously we're not talking about it 30 years later, like we are, the Fog, for instance. But it was all right. So we basically go from there to thanks, Lily. We go from there to we meet this woman is dropping her daughter off to meet with her friend, and her friend's kind of like, they're on bikes essentially, and they're talking to the grandma or whatever, and
because her friend lives with her grandma.
Yeah, and her friend's like, her friend lives with the grandma. The other girl's mom's dropping her off, which is Cindy, and the other girl's name is Tara. So she tells Tara, or they go in to eat dinner with the grandma, and grandma basically, Cindy starts making some jokes about like asking grandma to explain stuff, and she knows that'll get her on a tangent.
Yeah, because she has a bunch of religious figurines and stuff like that around her house.
Religious relics. Yeah.
Relics, there you go.
So she's like, oh, what about this? And she's like, don't get her started. So they end up escaping from grandma, and she's doing her. They're having a conversation in the barn, and she says, basically, hey, I'm gonna take my. She's smoking a cigarette. And she's like, why'd you try to get grandma going or whatever? And she reveals that she snuck some whiskey out of grandma's house. And they're going to go on their bike ride, and they're going to go to the crypt, this flooded crypt, to swim. Like one does. Right?
One does not do that.
What do you guys think of just this opening interaction? What are your thoughts on just this introduction of these characters in any of this?
Well,
I'm
first
already
part.
Confused.
Yeah, go ahead.
I thought the girl's name was Lucy.
Is it Lucy?
It is Lucy.
Lucy, not Nancy. Cindy. Wait, who's Cindy?
Yeah, it's Lucy and Cindy.
Yeah.
Lucy and Cindy. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Cindy is the one who gets dropped off, and Lucy's the one who lives with her grandmother.
That's what it is. Okay. Sorry about that.
Yes.
This movie is terrible, so I forget names.
You're like, I'm so discombobulated.
Well, I wrote down the wrong name, I think, is what I did here on one of the notes. But yeah, so Lucy is the main girl. She's basically playing the Lucy character from. Yeah, I get you. So anyway, what do you think of this opening with these characters?
It's fine.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's all. It just was like, it's just fine. It's a 90s kid. It seems like a 90s kids movie, right?
It does. So I was going to get into this a little later, but even from the beginning, this movie feels like an episode of Goosebumps. Right?
I feel like it has less I feel like it has less atmosphere than an episode of Goosebumps. I'm a fan of
It
Goosebumps,
does,
and this is slightly.
The way a lot of this is shot, and we'll get into some of these shots later, in the performances, reminds me of a TV movie, right? Like a Goosebumps or something, like a TV movie. And I got those vibes hardcore when I watched the beginning of it. I was like, kind of feels like a, 90s like TV movie, or Goosebumps, as I said, or like you said, a kids movie. So then they go to the grave.
This first part it's kind of wholesome. This girl lives with her grandma. Her grandma's really religious. She's a virgin. I think she's just graduated from high school or about to. And then she talked about like leaving the town, and like that's kind of the thing. Like if you don't swim in the crypt, then you don't wash away the sins of the town or something along those lines, and you're destined to come back. And so I mean it's kind of wholesome in like that specific way, but yeah, also a little hokey.
Well, yeah, super hokey, and it's the setup works. I suppose it works.
Tell you what, definitely would not be going to swim in a crypt. That doesn't sound fun at all.
No, that sounds absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they go to this
local pond.
Yeah, anywhere. Go anywhere besides the crypt.
Yeah.
So, they go to this crypt, and then they do their business, I guess, and they start swimming, and her cross falls off, and lights up like an electric neon light underwater, and it awakens the villain, the main vampire. What's this guy's name? It is. No, his name's not Dylan. It's like Sakar or something like that. Sakar.
Yep, we'll just call him Dylan. Vampire is it just says vampire on here, but
it says
it's
in the thing
name.
it's like Sakar. Sakar is what it is. CzakYr. Sakar.
I like mine better.
So they awaken Sakar, and he jumps up and grabs.
How did you spell it?
CZAK. CZAKYR.
I feel like it's like
Sacker?
Sakir,
maybe? Sacker?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like
Dylan.
they didn't say it very much.
Yep, just Dylan. Let's call him Dylan.
So Dylan comes up from the grave and attacks Cindy.
Yep.
And lifts her up, and then he, is like shaking her, and then he bites her, and you see like blood drip down, and you see Lucy like afraid.
Yeah.
And then we get like a smash cut to this teacher in a classroom, and he's teaching
Mark.
this. Mark is his name. It's the guy from 21 Jump Street.
I didn't even know that.
Yes. I knew that because Sarah told me when she was watching. Sarah watched this one with me, and I don't think she's ever going to watch another single one of these movies with me again.
She's like, this is what you do with your time?
Sarah watched this movie.
Sarah watched this movie. Granted, she was making her... She's making her jewelry while she was doing it, but she watched it.
Derek, did your wife
Look
watch
what
this
you
movie?
did.
She was going to, but I couldn't get it to play through the TV, so I had to watch it on my phone.
Oh my gosh.
Because I didn't know that it was on all those other platforms.
Everything.
Yeah, it's on every single streaming service. But
now you know.
So he's teaching this girl, and apparently she's just starting to read, and she's reading a book that the religious mother does not approve of. And so she asks about the devil, and like, what is he? And basically Mark tells her the philosophical what the devil is, like, I mean, maybe he's just ourselves or whatever. And the mom's like, this is sacrilege. And we find out, of course, that Mark used to be in the seminary, but he left once he fell in love with a girl.
Mm-hmm.
And so she leaves with the girl, and we're introduced to the priest character. What's the priest character's name?
Frank.
Frank. Okay, Father Frank. Yeah. So Father Frank, basically, is like, you need to come with me. I need to show you something. So during this scene, guys,
Oh yeah.
during this scene, there's a really weird camera shot.
There's two of them.
There's two, yeah. The first one is when when the mom walks up to him. We're filmed from underneath, and they're upside down. It's this weird shot of them. And then later, then it just keeps showing the mom's close up of the mom's mouth while she's talking.
Yeah.
Because she's got like this weird scar, and it would be
scar.
Yeah, it would be effective if you did it for like, one or two, because it keeps cutting back and forth, like one or two of those, right? But like literally 98% of the scene is just this little focal point right here. It gets really weird real fast.
Just
Yeah.
on her mouth.
Yeah. It's weird.
Just on her mouth. Really strange.
And that upside down shot was kind of disorienting, because at first you're like, what is this? Then you realize they're like, yeah, let's shoot from somebody lay on the ground. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Did these shots take you out of the movie at all?
Those two for this scene, yes.
Yeah. What do you think of these shots, Lydia?
I don't even remember the scene. I just watched this. I just rewatched this. I don't even remember that shot at all. So it must not have been too bad for me.
You watched it twice and forgot these shots. That's how
I
memorable
didn't-
this movie is.
I don't
Yeah.
remember the upside down shot, but I do. I mean, the scar thing. I think that's why I forget, because I'm focused on that scar.
It's a very not memorable movie. You're forgiven.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting stuff as I'm trying to go through this. And
Yeah, I
look,
completely
the bright
forgot the
side.
whole opening.
Yeah. Look at the bright side. At least you didn't watch this and think it was in black and white.
I will never do one of these episodes with you guys again.
You're never gonna live that down, I don't think.
I'm never going to live that down. Episode 200.
Well, that's one of the
you
best.
guys remember when Derek watched a black and white movie and he thought it was in color? You guys remember that? Like,
gonna
that was
be-
like 3 years ago.
We're gonna do our year-end roundup.
Yeah,
And-
recap.
And that's gonna be on the recap of the first season, and then season 10, we're gonna be like, hey, you remember in season 1 when Derek?
The mind is a
Like,
crazy
just let
thing,
it go,
man.
guys.
It fills in the blanks.
Yeah, it does. It does. So yeah, that scene, those shots took me out of it because they just were kind of showy shots for no reason. They weren't to move the story along. I didn't feel like, and I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes that's fine. And once we get into this, I mean, I'll just say it right now. But there's the shots later in the movie. What this movie feels like, the direction of it feels like, they had just watched Evil Dead 2, and they're like, hey, let's try to do that stuff. But
Yeah.
they couldn't quite do it. They didn't have the Sam Raimi magic to pull that off.
Yeah, they're like,
No,
I've got a great idea for a vampire movie. Let's shoot it like Evil Dead.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I could see that a little bit. The comparison and a few things here and there.
Yeah, especially when we get to the second and third act of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's some very strong Evil Dead vibes going on, and that's what they were going for, and I get it. They just don't quite nail the tone.
They don't.
The director was Tony Randal.
Yeah, the director is Tony Randal. Just so
It's-
everybody knows
Yeah.
who made this masterpiece.
Yeah, not that Tony Randal. This is the same Tony Randal that directed. This is the same Tony Randal that directed Hellraiser 2. So basically, Father Frank takes him to the house of
His dead brother.
Cindy. Yeah, basically, it's Cindy in her mom's house
Yeah.
because it's so essentially his niece and his sister-in-law.
Yeah.
So Father Frank has a brother that has died. And he fell in love with the sister-in-law and had an affair with her at one point in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So he, said that he's been watching over them, but he's not doing it as like because he's a good guy. He's doing it because he's in love with this woman,
Yeah.
and basically he feels that the sickness that's befell them is because God is smiting him for his indiscretion, right?
As one would.
As one would. Yeah. So this is where we find out that. What do you guys think of Father? Before we get to the vampire stuff, what do you think of Father Frank's acting in this scene?
Oh my God, it was off the charts.
Frank, these things happen. You don't understand. I never told you the worst part. You have to understand. The woman that I had that affair with 10 years ago, that was Karen Thompson, my sister-in-law.
A little big, isn't it? A little big.
I loved it. This was like one of my favorite parts. When he's like, what does he say? Oh my gosh, it was so funny. He's like, I slept with my brother's wife!
Damn me to hell! I slept with my brother's wife!
And he's just saying it so funny.
Yeah. Very big, yeah. What do you think, Derek?
Yeah, definitely a little bit of overacting. A little bit. He could have tamed it down about 3 notches, but he definitely got his point across.
Yeah, so he pours himself a drink and he does this whole bit, and then he takes Mark upstairs to show what happened to the other two, and that's when we see the selling point of this movie for Derek, at least, which is we see Cindy laying in a bathtub with her lungs outside of her body, just floating.
Now, there's actually at the whenever they meet Doug, was that his name? The vampire?
No, Dylan.
Dylan, dang. Anyway, we call him Doug too. So when they met Doug,
Dylan,
when they saw Dylan, he had his lungs out. It's a very brief shot, but it was. But yeah, this is the scene where you're like, I thought these people were vampires. And she's sleeping under the water and she's got her her lungs out. The best part is whenever he's like, wait, you'll see only three more seconds of daylight. And then when the sun goes down,
it's like instantaneous.
Yeah. She gets out of the water and you see her it's a shot from her back and all you see is her going and you get this scene where she's sucking her lungs back into her body.
Which I don't know how that would work because you would need your lungs to suck in, right? I mean,
yeah, I don't know. You're exactly right. Yeah. Where's and there's another discrepancy later in the film, but also I didn't even realize this, but the cocoon, the mom is in a cocoon.
The mom's in a cocoon, yes.
Yeah, and she also has her lungs on the outside of her body.
Her lungs are outside while she's in the cocoon.
When her cocoon starts kind of melting, and it's like that milky white. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
That kind of gave me some Evil Dead vibes.
There's definitely. Well, we'll talk about that right now. The reason I think a lot of that is the special effects for this movie was done by K&B, which is the great special effects house that did a lot of the special effects stuff for Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness and
that makes perfect
Creep Show.
sense.
I mean, it's Greg Nicotero and Howard Berger.
Those guys.
They do. I mean, that's Robert Kirkman. That's who did the. They did the special effects for this, but so the sunlight goes down immediately, right, with the stopwatch.
Yeah.
And then they change, and then he pours in leeches, right?
Yeah.
So the daughter can eat them, so that way the mother can feed off the daughter, but keep the daughter alive, right? Is that the way it's working?
Yeah, kind of like a symbiotic relationship, which you find out the vampire at the end also had in a strange way.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's a symbiotic relationship. So she's feeding off her, but she's not killing her. And so she's partially a vampire, but not fully a vampire, I guess. But she sleeps with her lungs outside of her body still. I don't know. This thing's a mess.
It doesn't make sense.
So basically what happens is the next shot is Mark. They're downstairs, and Mark's like drinking from the thing because he's like doesn't believe what he just saw. He's like, those women need help. They're clearly have something wrong with them. We need to take them to the doctor. And Father Frank's like, no, they're vampires. Can't you see it? Can't you see it? And he tells her about Lucy's family, about how he's been trying to call Lucy's home, and he just keeps getting this weird breathing every time he answers. He's like, I think she's in danger. So I'm going to need you, Mark, to go to this town, and you need to check on them while I watch this family. The main vampire needs to die. That's the only way that they can be saved. Like, all right, I guess. Mark, of course, doesn't believe it at first. And somehow, doesn't he know her family?
Yeah, he tutored her.
Okay, so he tutored her. That's what it was. Because he's like, I know of her. He's like, well, she needs your help. The vampires are coming or whatever.
How old is he?
Dude, that's my big question, too. Because he's definitely out of college. So he's in his mid-20s. She is 17. We know she's 17. And he's like Max on her later in the movie. Like he talks about how...
Hey. This was the 80s, man.
90s.
Was it?
Yeah, 1991.
Oh, so it was almost the 80s.
It's like, I thought he was like way older.
Well, I think that's
he is
because the
way
actor
older.
is. Yeah. But yeah. I mean, if he's 25 and she's 17, that's a pretty big age gap.
Yeah.
Hey, I dated a girl who was 18 and I was 25. She was in college. Nothing wrong with that.
She's 17, Derek.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. He just needs to wait a year, and then he's good.
Anyway, we'll get into that a little bit later, since we got Geppetto Lamaster over here.
Whatever. She was in college. I stand by that.
So yeah, he goes to this family house to see what's going on. Knocks on the door. The grandmother answers, and she's like, oh yeah, she won't come out. Something's wrong with her. She thinks that somebody's gonna hurt her. She's locked in her room, and we see her. We see Lucy locked in the room, and she's just kind of. And he starts walking around the house, and he starts noticing that all the religious artifacts are gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she attacks him.
Nope. Yeah, so this is the most Evil Dead shot, I think, that they had in the movie. My personal opinion. Because he's like, he's looking in there. Maybe I really need to talk to her. And he's like looking at the door, and then you see the teeth like chatter.
That's right, yeah. And
then the grandmother has revealed her fangs.
Yeah, it does like the full Evil Dead turn, doesn't it?
Yeah, but that scene right there was like, they definitely. Which, I mean, we mentioned whenever we did the Evil Dead episode that inspired a generation of directors. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Still to this day, it inspires generations of filmmakers. I mean, but somebody like Edgar Wright can, take shots and parody Sam Raimi with Shaun of the Dead, but he's excellent, so he can make that work.
Yeah, he did it in a way that was not silly and ridiculous.
Yeah, so this thing happens. She starts attacking. Her teeth are out now. They've got like the buck. What do you guys think of their fangs? We kind of glossed over this with the. What do you think of the vampire makeup in general?
It's terrible.
Pretty bad. I mean, the makeup itself isn't too bad,
but the design,
don't work at all in any way. I mean, they're huge. When the mom vampire is screaming, like her dialogue, it's so cringy. The way her makes her voice sound.
Of course, he's talking like this.
Yeah,
it's too obvious.
Yeah,
that she's got an obstruction in her mouth. Yeah,
yeah, but she kills it. Like she's.
Oh yeah,
she sells it.
That's Karen Black.
She commits. She commits for sure. I give her props for that.
So when Grandma comes out and attacks him, they fight her off. Lucy runs out and hits her in the head with a golf club, and I guess buries it in her head.
This is after she fell down the stairs.
Yes, because he throws her down the stairs.
And Mark thought he killed her.
And he's like, she's dead. She's like, no, she's not. She comes back and buries the golf club in her head, and they run out, and she's like, you killed your grandma, or whatever. And they start just driving down the road. And they get pulled over by this cop, this police officer.
Favorite character in this whole movie.
Yes.
She's a feisty one.
She is something. And her name is Officer Gates. So Officer Gates pulls them over and basically says what we were just talking about, we the audience. Hey, buddy, what are you doing with this teenage girl in your car? He says, oh, I'm just taking my girlfriend home. Her dad needs her home. And it's like, aren't you 45? You know? It's like, what are you talking about? Shouldn't you be playing, like, Robin or something? At this point, you're old enough to play Robin in the 90s.
That's like, good. I like
what is going on here? So she says, hey, well, the grandma just called, and she has a missing persons out on you. So I need to take you home because you're underage. And he's like, no, I'll take her. He's like, hey, buddy, how about you just keep driving and start dating girls your own age?
Yeah. Go to bingo and pick up a chick.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Walk the supermarket. I'm sure you'll find someone.
Yeah.
So the Officer Gates takes her, and they start driving towards the house. And Mark decides, after driving a ways, he's like, no, I've got to go back, and spins around. What do you guys think of this Officer Gates dialogue that takes place next, where they have like their little heart-to-heart?
Amazing.
I think it's funny.
Yeah, it's the best part of the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
and she's
funny.
like, because she's from like New York or something like
Mhm.
that. She's a big city girl, and she was like, then I had to fall in love with one of these backwards hillbillies who's been gone on a hunting trip
Mhm.
for like 5 days, and you feel like she regrets her life, but she loves her husband. Anyway, it's a really funny scene.
Yeah, and they kind of have a good connection already. Like, their
They
chemistry
do.
is pretty good. And you can
Yeah.
tell that Officer Gates is not a bad person. Like, she's
No.
definitely doing what she thinks is best in this situation. So she takes her home, and she's like, please don't get me in there with the grandma. And she's like, you'll be fine. And then she goes, she beats me, she's going to kill me. She beats me. She abuses me. And pulls her in. And because she answers the door, grandma does, with a fucking fruit basket on her head.
Well, I mean, it's that or
Literally.
the thing sticking out of her head.
Yeah, so she has the fruit basket, and she's like, oh, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Talks her in. She's like, well, you want to come in for something to eat?
For a
No,
late night
no.
snack.
Well, I'm going to have a late night snack myself. And then she starts to leave, and she tells her, she's got a golf club sticking out of her head. And she gets knocked out by a board. At this
Yeah.
time, Mark arrives. And he's like trying to look around, see what's going in, and this fucking kid pops up.
Yep.
Uh,
the perv.
yeah,
This
what's
is the
his
kid
kid's
that,
name? I don't remember his name, but the fucking Peeping Tom kid.
Yeah,
He
was
pops
it Billy?
What is it, Billy?
I think it is Billy.
It seemed like a Billy. That's like such a name for this kind of character, Billy,
Yeah.
right?
Such
Little
a
Billy.
perverted name. Billy.
So little Billy's like, hey, I know how we can look into her window. Are you trying to look into her? Because I see her changing all the time. You're like, what the hell? Like, what is going on here? I mean, what is it with the movies that we watch and having guys just spy on girls? I mean, we have Wolfman. Now this. What's
I
going
know.
on?
I mean, this kid took it to a new level. At least the
Oh.
Wolfman was like, you have your clothes on. He's like looking at all the. I think at one point he's like, I've seen all the girls in this town naked.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Like, what
golly.
a freak.
Future predator on the loose over here.
No
Yeah, like,
kidding.
literally.
So the nightly train.
Here they go.
It seems louder tonight than it normally
It
is.
does. This train is pissed. It's coming back with a vengeance.
It is. I will not be silenced.
You will listen to me toot my horn. So, he helps her find helps Mark find a window to creep in on, and sees her. And this scene just makes no sense to me, guys. And this is like 100% just like a. I think this is even more Evil Dead than the scene you talked about earlier. All of the appliances in the room are just going off for some reason. Like, she can control them all, I guess. So all the appliances are going off. And she's like, has her tied up, and she's like, and she goes to, put a receptacle to catch her blood so she can drink it. And Mark decides the best way to enter this house is to, Rambo dive.
Oh, yeah, he totally somersaults into this thing.
Somersaults into it and attacks her. What do you guys think of this scene?
I was inspired. I went outside and I opened the window and I was going to try to dive through the screen. But I couldn't get the couch out of the way. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a really ridiculous scene, for sure.
I'm with you, though. It is really confusing because you're like, why are all the appliances going on the fritz? It's like, it doesn't make any sense.
No,
and
it really doesn't.
The only shot that maybe kind of establishes this, if you're reaching, is whenever Cindy and her mom are in the locked in the room. There's a lamp that flickers sometimes.
And it flickers in the hallway. So we get a little bit of that. So I guess that's supposed to be one of their powers, but it's just not very well explained why or how.
It's not.
It's just that this is the thing that happens. So they finally kill Grandma, right? How do they kill Grandma again?
He stakes her.
That's right, just a plain old stake.
Yeah, and I think he says, "I'm getting good at this."
No, that's later he says that. So he stakes her, and then they take off. And we cut from there to Father Frank, who at this point, basically, what do you guys think of this whole scene coming up? This whole scene where Father Frank gets seduced by her, goes into the room, and they start having this weird sex thing, and he lets her bite him, and then she fucking cocoons.
This scene, it lost me. I was halfway following this movie until this scene, and I was like, what is going on? It's
Lydia,
weird.
I want you to be honest. When you got halfway through this movie, you were like, Derek is never picking another movie ever again.
I was like, okay, because I don't know if you remember the conversation, but I think afterwards, after you talked about this movie the first time, I brought up a movie that I watched, from my childhood, that I was like, this is a really scary, bad kind of movie that nobody remembers. And I think when I pick my movie from my childhood, it's going to be way better than this one.
More than likely. Yeah, so this scene is really strange. So, he basically gives himself up to her because he loves her or whatever. And then the daughter decides she can't take it anymore and she can't let him die. So she waits for the mother to cocoon herself. Then she sucks her lungs back in. She goes over there. But I will say this, when she cocoons herself, there's some really cool makeup effects going on. Yeah. We see it all in floral. We see all the cocoons come over her. Yes. We see the lungs
vomits
come
out of her mouth.
Yeah,
all of it comes out of her mouth.
Yeah, and then the lungs come out and they start to breathe, which is really cool. Yeah. So all that's really neat.
That all looked great.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
That was impressive.
The first couple of frames where after she gets done and they lay down on the bed and she goes and that stuff comes, I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now? And then I realized she's forming the cocoon.
Yeah,
I was like,
which I don't know what the point of the cocoon is. I really don't, but whatever, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
So
whatever.
she Cindy goes over and stakes her. and kills her.
Yep.
And then the priest goes, the priest is like, "Is everything okay? Is your mother going to be okay?" And then like passes back out or whatever. I don't know. He just is gone at that point. So our heroes are driving. They're trying to get the hell out of town, and she says, Lucy says, we need to go back for Officer Gates. She tried to help me. She's a nice person. They kidnapped her. We've got to save her. And at this time, Billy jumps out from nowhere, like just from nowhere, stops him and says, "Hey, they took that police officer. I know where she is. She's up there at the bingo hall." And they're like, "Okay." So Billy, hop on in. He's like, "I just want you to know, I think this is a really bad idea."
Yep.
And they drive up to the bingo hall, and he's like, "All right, Billy." He says, "All right, Billy, since you're the peeping Tom and you know all the windows in this town, where's the best place to peep on these guys?" No, it's like, what a great character. And he's like, well, after the full moon or what, he's like, explains it like, well, the showers are over here. And he's like, but I think that there's a skylight on the roof. So they go up to the skylight and they look, and in this time period, from Cindy being bit to now, which is like what, a day? A couple days maybe? During that time period, the whole town has been turned into vampires. Right?
Yeah.
So we let's backtrack a little bit. We skipped a part at the very beginning of this movie, which is showing the town. And we see this doctor, and he meets with these other townspeople, and they like have this dialogue. They start talking about the people down the street, talking about this heart stuff. We meet the town. We meet like the town drunk and all this stuff.
Yeah. So we're gonna throw up a picture of this doctor.
Yeah.
Because it's the most ridiculous representation of a doctor that you can see on TV.
Yeah, it's a pretty bad one.
Yeah.
This movie is a ridiculous representation for a vampire movie on TV.
But it's true.
That's not wrong. So, fast forward to where we were. We're in the bingo hall, and she sees that the whole town's turned. And then, dude, this is where I get the biggest Goosebumps vibe.
Want to go inside and get to know some of the locals? I've seen them all naked.
They hear a voice behind him, and they find out that it's Billy is actually working with them. And we get this close-up, low angle, and he's acting. "I work with the vampires.
I'm a familiar."
Yes. Oh,
and it like cuts, and I was like, "Oh no."
I thought the same thing. I was like, what? Like, why is this? How did that kid get cast to say those lines?
Yeah,
like,
especially when they get into the bingo hall and he starts talking about what you just said, Derek, that he's familiar. "I'm a familiar. I'm not a vampire. I just work for them and bring them food." And you're like, what is going on here?
And for that, they let me peek in all of the girls' windows.
Yes. So then he, which by the way, let's take this into context. Dylan just woke up when she did this. So how long has Billy been a familiar for Dylan?
Who knows? You know what? I mean? We'll grant them that it's been 3 or 4 days.
Okay, sure.
I don't know.
Sure.
I don't
But like
think
he seems
though.
to know all about it, so whatever. But anyway, so Billy. Now, I mean, that raises the question: did they rose him, right? Like the town, they rose him. He's been buried under there, but he's not attacked and come out of the ground yet, right? I mean,
well, so it almost seemed like whenever they went swimming in the crypt, that the cross coming off of her necklace is like what. It seems like it did hurt him, because I think that there's a scar on his forehead.
There is.
So I think that's actually what woke him up. Because there's a story later in the movie that Marty, the town drunk,
tells them. Yeah, he gives us the backstory. And that's what I was wondering. I'm like, so I'm guessing that he hasn't been feeding on the townspeople all this time. There hasn't been missing people. It's just when he awakened them.
Yeah, and he had the children down there to sustain him.
Yes, during this whole time.
They must have eaten fish.
Yeah, who knows? So,
and those are the children of the night.
Those are the children of the night. Yes. So then, of course, they're like, "We work for our master."
In this movie at all. I'm sorry, but the Children of the Night is what the movie is called.
I know.
And they're in the movie in one scene.
Yeah.
Hey. To be fair,
they're referenced in two, I guess.
To be fair, Jaws is only in a handful of scenes in Jaws.
Well, I mean, to be fair,
he also drives the entire plot.
Yeah.
And Jaws is a stone cold tin pumpkin classic. So
they could have called Jaws anything, you know.
Yeah, and it would have been awesome.
So it would have been a great movie.
Yeah. So at this point, that's when he's like, "We do this for our master," and they start chanting his name. They're like, "Dylan, Dylan," because we don't know his real name.
He's a rock star at this point.
Yeah. So he comes out and he's all like, "Arr, arr." And that's when Officer Gates is pulled out, and she attacks one of them, knocks one of them out, and pulls a knife, and she's like, let's go. What's her line that she says?
She says, "All right, Froggy, let's leap."
Come on, Froggy. Jump.
That's what it is. "All right, Froggy, let's leap."
Or something like that. "All right, Froggy, leaper." Yeah.
And she...
Oh my gosh, that was
she gets
so
her
bad.
throat slit by his fingernails. So she's dead. Our main characters, escape, right? Don't they just, start fighting them off, essentially?
Yeah, I think so. Although, I tell you what, this is the scene where the legend of Officer Gates is born and lives on. She attacks that vampire like a true hero.
Yes, she does.
Anyway, that's what makes her my favorite character.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That and... Yeah,
Go ahead.
she has the best dialogue, too.
She does.
Except for that last line. That's not the best.
It's a little deadly.
She could have worked on that. She could have said something like, "Suck on this, you son of a bitch." That would have been a better line, right?
Oh, anything would have been better than what she said.
Come on,
But
Froggy. Let's hop.
We
Make like
over...
a tree and leave.
I'll
we
have what
skipped
she's having.
We skipped over her best line.
Which is what?
When she's in the car and she screams out the window, "Bastard."
Oh, yeah, that's
and it
right.
echoes in the mountains.
Bastard!
We have to please put a
That
clip of that in this.
Don't worry, it's actually right here.
Yep.
So, our duo escape, and she ends up running, she gets trapped away, and Dylan starts chasing her down, right? In an alley. And then Mark is separated from her. He's trying to find her.
Yeah.
And then this is where so at the beginning of the movie opens with this van with a giant cross on the top of it, spouting Jesus stuff, right?
You missed a small piece here.
Well, hang on.
Okay.
So the movie opens with this cross, and then it shows the van and the speakers. That comes into play in this scene. Now, what were you saying?
So when she's in this alley, right, and she's running down there, it's established she's a virgin, and then she sees these two people.
That's right. Yeah.
In the weird cocoons.
Doing it in the cocoon. Yeah.
It's
and
really
she just
strange.
stares at him.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, I wonder what they're doing in there."
Yeah, she's a virgin. That's why the master wants her. Master Dylan wants her because virgin blood is the best blood, I guess, or something.
Yeah, it tastes sweet.
Billy tells us this. So Billy is chasing after Mark, and he fucking turns around and stakes that kid.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he does.
And the kid's like, "I told you I was not a vampire, you asshole."
Yeah. And
I was
bleeds
so
out.
shocked.
And I put in my notes, he killed a little kid. Laughing face, laughing face, laughing face.
Well, it's like
Straight up murders him.
up until this point, it's like a '90s kids movie.
Yeah.
And it's like there are some things that you're like, whoa, I mean that's a little bit,
Yeah.
But then it's like this kid just full on gets murdered right in front of your face.
You know how many
staked through the chest and dies with blood coming out of his mouth.
Yeah.
Like that's not Goosebumps.
We here on Scream Bloody Movies have a long tradition of watching movies where children die.
We do.
So we like to continue that tradition.
Yeah, we're picking it back up.
Yeah, Children of the Night starting the streak strong again.
I will
It was
say
like our
that
first 4 episodes were like dead kids.
yeah, like I think in the first one you're like, yeah, man, they made one of the or committed like one of the things that you don't do in horror movies. You kill a kid, and then like every other movie that we watch, they killed a
dead
kid.
kids.
But
Dead
really,
kids everywhere.
yeah, what he did was you know how many countless innocent women that he saved by killing that kid?
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding. He was on his
Oh
way
my
to be a
God.
freaking representative from Florida.
That's exactly who he was going to be. Good job, Mark. Cleansing the earth of vampires and pedophiles.
So, she basically, Dylan is about to attack her when he hears the Lord speak from what's his name, Derek?
Marty?
Marty. Yeah. So here's Marty speaking and driving this van. He runs off. He grabs them. They jump into the van and they drive off to the windmill, which he thinks is the safest place. So he takes them to the windmill, and
It's not the windmill. It was the old wood mill.
Woodmill. Yeah.
Yeah.
Takes them to the woodmill, and there they they're talking there, and that's where we get. That's like kind of the downtime of this movie, where we get all the exposition dump. So Marty tells us the backstory of Dylan, and you find out that he was supposedly a priest that was caught doing bad things to children, and they murdered him. And when they went there, he had killed all the kids too, so they murdered him and they flooded the crypt to basically wash away all of the past, right? That's kind of the gist of it. And so they're like, that's what's going on. That's how this is happening. Because we find out that Marty was the one that filled it with water. He was the one that did it. And he feels guilty about it still. And all those dead kids. And we get a fight scene that occurs here. Like a big, deadly, fat vampire jumps out, I guess, for lack of a better word, right? I mean, it's just like a big vampire guy pops up and starts throwing him around, and he ends up staking him. Mark does. Stakes him. And that's when he says, "Man, you killed that vampire." And he said, "Oh my God, I'm getting good at this."
Yeah, this is it.
So what do you guys... And then there's also a bit where he talks about how he saw her, and once I saw that angel face, I knew I'd do anything for it. Talking about her. So what do you guys think of this whole scene?
Creepy.
Weird.
Didn't like it.
Other than the backstory that of how like the crypt got filled and stuff like that, which they tweak a little bit later on when Cindy gives a little bit more context to that, but that part I really liked. I feel like it added to the story. The rest of it was just like,
Filler.
Yeah, we got some time. Let's kill it.
Yeah, it's filler. Which is fine. So we get a little bit of after that, he says, "I'm gonna fall. I'll stay awake. You go get some sleep. You haven't been asleep for a while. You get some sleep. We'll keep watch." So they, of course, both fall asleep. Like the guys are supposed to stay awake. And Cindy shows up and she starts talking to Lucy, and she's like, "Hey, listen, we've got to end this fucker. I know where he sleeps. I know what he's doing. I don't want to be part of the undead. I hate it. There's nothing fun to do. I tried to smoke a cigarette the other day, but my lungs can't hold air. So then why do you puke them up at night if your lungs don't hold
use them
air?
to breathe?" That part made absolutely no sense, and I
Does this
probably
make
woke up
sense
my
to you
child
guys?
just then.
It's like they were like going for something and they just kept like, oh well, maybe we should do it like this, and like kept changing it and didn't like
Track
follow
it.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't track anything for sure.
Because that when she said that line, it didn't make sense to me. I was like, then why are your lungs outside of your body? I really don't understand that whole bit. Like, I don't understand the whole lungs coming out, period. Even,
I mean, I think it's a super creative
it's a
choice.
cool idea. Yeah.
I mean, it's
a great
super original idea. I've never heard of it before. I mean, maybe it's somewhere, but like, I've never heard of that before. So that makes me think you've got a good idea here. It was just not executed well at all.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. You're right. It is unique, and you've established it throughout the film, and then you go and you completely contradict it with this one dialogue scene, and it just made me so furious. I couldn't get over it.
that's where Derek drew the line.
I drew the line. I was like,
the rest
"You
of this
lost it."
shittiness is fine, but that does it for me, mister. So, she decides to run off with her to go fight the baddie. And Mark wakes up, and he's like, oh my God, Marty, we fell asleep. We got to get up. And he's like, well, we're going to take it to him. And we get like the Evil Dead 2 work montage, essentially, right? Where it shows him he's like welding something. We don't quite see what it is, you know. Then when we're introduced to it, oh my God, guys, the cross is just attached to the front of the vehicle. What do you guys think of this thing?
So stupid.
We gotta give it a name, man. We gotta give it a name.
I call it the Christo-Ram.
The Christ.
I call it the stupid mobile.
that works
Stupid
too.
mobile. I'm gonna go with Christ on wheels.
So, basically, the car itself, it's the van, but yeah, it has like a Christo-Ram, basically, like it has a cross battering ram, right, attached to it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a spike, like.
Yeah, but it's not. It doesn't stab anybody.
Doesn't have any kind of stakes on it. It's
Yeah.
like a rounded cross with light bulbs all over it.
Yeah,
Like,
and it just kind of
there's
knocks
no-
people down.
There's nothing threatening. They don't hit. Like a
Most people
single
just run from it.
Well, and I mean, it really only plays after this like specific.
The
scene where
end
they're
of it, yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
The
there for
only-
the end.
Part
But
It's
like-
yeah, which is pretty
So-
predictable.
Yeah,
Not gonna
Well,
lie.
yeah, you saw
basically,
this
you knew
coming
as
a
soon as
mile
you
away.
saw it. As soon as you saw it, you're like, oh, well, that's how Dylan's gonna die, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
how Dylan's gonna die.
Yeah.
So, they go there to save her, and they show up, and they have Molotov cocktails. Why not? And they're throwing it at him. Dylan fights both Lucy and Cindy, and Cindy sacrifices her life to save Lucy. She steps in front of him and tries to fight him, and he breaks her neck, and it sticks out, and she floats.
That scene is so weird, by the way.
That scene is weird.
Yeah. So
Because
she goes
she-
down and
yeah.
she starts unlocking the children. Right?
Yeah.
That's what she's doing. She's unlocking the children.
Yeah.
So once the children rise up and grab him and start pulling on him, he's like, "Oh, the children!" So Mark gets out after they just run around like the villains are running around, right?
Yeah.
And they're not even vampires. They're more like zombies. They're more like deadites, right? They seem more like deadites than vampires. And he's running them down through town square. Mark gets out and he goes to help save Lucy. And Marty gets attacked by this one vampire, and they have a fight inside the van. So Mark gets his ass beat by Dylan. He just gets smacked around. He gets picked up and slammed. He's no match for him.
Yeah.
And then at this point, the two that are struggling in the van wreck it into the church area, the crypt area. And They hit a car, which immediately explodes into a fireball. It skids on its side and impales Dylan and kills him.
Yep.
What do you guys think of this whole third act climax?
I don't think of it.
Yeah, I mean, they telegraphed the end of it. We alluded to that a couple moments ago. And I just feel like it was lazy writing, honestly. Like, how are we going to end this thing? You know what? We're going to have this van fly through the air.
I don't really have too much of a problem with that. That's a fun, Hollywood-ish, good ending.
Sure.
What do you think of the execution of the whole attack? Like the whole attack on the town, and then the fights and everything. There's a lot of ambition behind this. It's just like the ambition was too big for the budget, and the scope was too big, I feel like, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, because I feel like the vampires ran around a lot. They
That's all
didn't
it
actually
was.
have purpose.
It just was a bunch of running around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think, Lydia?
I was trying to imagine this movie if Wes Craven directed it.
Yeah.
It'd have been a way better movie.
How good and how scary. Like, I want that. I want Wes Craven's version of this.
Because there are some good ideas in here. And yeah, it's just the execution isn't. And I get the Evil Dead tone they're going for, and you could totally nail that tone too. If you just work on it, you can nail that tone and make it both scary and fun, right? That's kind of the goal. So they're dead, or Dylan's dead. Then Marty crawls out. Then we cut in the ending of this goddamn movie, you guys. The ending of this movie. Daylight comes. All of the townspeople are back to normal. They're like, oh man, I had a weird dream last. My chest really hurts. John down the road was pulling out shards of wood from his chest.
Yeah.
Splinters. I don't know what's going on.
I was pulling splinters out of people all day.
Yeah.
What?
And then
what are you talking about?
Then Marty comes up and he's like,
yeah.
Hey guys, how's it going? He's like,
he's no longer the town drunk. Yeah, he's dressed up. He's got a suit on. And it's like, I got big plans for this town. I'm going to bring in people with disposable income. And he's like, what?
But he still has terrible teeth.
Hey,
all of it's weird.
I'm sure the town has a dentist. They have a doctor.
He's shaved. He's clean shaved. He's like a totally different person. But he still has like a homeless man teeth.
Well, you can't fix that overnight.
Yeah.
Well, like, those weren't his real teeth, I don't think, either. Like, they could have just, like, straightened him up and had him have nice teeth.
Yeah, but you just can't fix that. They're like, well, that way we know this is the same guy. So we get all of this. Like, I guess that when they killed Dylan, it freed all of them from the curse, so they're no longer vampires, is the thought process.
Oh, yeah. So we also missed the Children of the Night.
Yes, so
they made their only appearance here.
Once Dylan, second appearance, because they pull him down.
That's true.
Then once Dylan is killed, they walk off, and she's like, look, it's the children. I have expected her to say, of the night.
They're free.
But the children are free, so their souls are free. And then the mailman walks by, and he waves at them, and they're like,
who?
So Sarah thought that the mailman was the priest. But I rewound it multiple times, and I don't think so.
It's not. It's definitely not. It's like
who
literally someone who isn't in the entire movie. Is it a vampire? Is it Dylan? Is it the vampire?
Let's
I don't know. I genuinely it's nobody. It's nobody.
I was like, there has to be an importance to this character, right? Because they make a point to frame him, and then have him wave at him, and then him to kind of react.
Nope,
like it was like a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mailman is Brad Overturf.
Okay.
So it's just a mailman.
Yeah, he doesn't have any other credits in the movie.
At some guy that makes no sense. He's not even a character, and they're just like having a triumphant moment over the mailman. That is nobody.
It's only overshadowed by the completely ridiculous Hollywood like double take that Marty gives our two main characters, because he's like talking to people and he's like,
Yeah, and then he's like,
yeah, like we did it, we did it.
yeah, and then they're like,
weird.
and then they're like, well, let's walk off or whatever. So they just walk off into and then the credits roll. And I
Put a
get
clip
the ending
of that.
they're trying for.
Put
Go
a
ahead,
clip of
Lydia.
that mailman scene.
Yep, clipping the mailman.
The mailman scene is right here. But yeah, like I get the ending they're going for. They're kind of like going for like a, like the Blob kind of has that a little bit. When they defeat the Blob and the town all comes together and it's like, oh, it's over, everything's good again, and then we get the weird tacked on ending that we don't like about the Blob. But this one, it just ends on that moment. But it felt like a TV movie ending, right? Or a Goosebumps episode ending.
It definitely did.
It's like, guess what? Only a couple people really died. There wasn't a lot. There was only three real deaths. Billy, well, maybe four. The one vampire, Billy, her mom, Cindy, and her mom. So it's like, but the town as a whole, the curse is lifted. Everybody's fine. And that is Children of the Night. So you guys, what do you think of Children of the Night? Let's start with you, Lydia. Tell me your thoughts and pumpkin rating for Children of the Night.
My thoughts. The acting is pretty bad. The special effects are pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
The plot is pretty bad.
Mm.
And the movie as a whole is not great. I'm going to give it a 1.
It's a long way around to get to it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I love it. I'm going to give it a 1. Derek, what are your thoughts on Children of the Night?
There are reasons why this movie was memorable from my childhood. and none of them are good. Except
I would disagree. I think the image of the puke up lungs is a good image. It's a good idea.
Yeah, it was memorable for sure. I did have a crush on the actress who, no, definitely not Dylan. The actress who played Lucy. I had a crush on her when I was
younger.
She
is really adorable. So
yeah,
she is.
Fair.
She's very pretty.
But like I said, I obviously I did remember this movie, for better or for worse. Who knows? Lydia's really sad she had to watch this movie. But I am gonna be a little bit more generous. I'm gonna give it a 3.
Okay.
Because it had some original content in it. Execution was lacking a lot. There were no real stellar actors, but I also had a little bit of fun watching it. It was kind of ridiculous. So I'm going to give it a 3.
All right,
Jamie,
guys.
it's your turn.
All right, guys. So here's my thoughts on Children of the Night. I'm kind of two minds of this movie. I mean, I'm not of two minds if this movie's any good. That's already made up. It's not. It's not a very good movie. But here are kind of my thoughts. I think the execution is not very good. I think there are some really good ideas in here. I really do. I think there's some interesting ideas and some great visuals, and I think there's some really great makeup effects for the budget that they had. I like the ambition. I like the tone they're going for. And I kind of like those cheesy, fun like Monster Squad and and even more adult versions of it. So like, like the Tales from the Crypt movies and those sort of things. I like that tone. And of course, Evil Dead, and Evil Dead 2 especially. But the execution is just really bad. And not only is it really bad from a production standpoint, it's really bad from a writing standpoint. And maybe in the script, all of it did make sense, but in the finished film, they cut out everything. So I am going to give this movie a 3 out of 10 pumpkins as well. Just because I think the special effects are good. And man, it's goofy, and I can't completely give it a 1. I don't feel like. I feel like a bully picking on it. Give it a 1. So, I mean, what other movies have I given a 3? I think Popcorn. Did I give Popcorn a 3?
You have never given a movie a 3.
Okay, this one deserves a 3 then. Wait, did I rate Popcorn higher than this?
Yes, Popcorn you gave a 5.
Oh, well,
Wow.
let's retroactively give Popcorn a lower grade.
No, you cannot. This is not
What
Back
did
to
I
the
give?
Future.
What
What
did I
did
give
she-
Popcorn?
You gave Popcorn a 4.
Wow.
I don't know.
I think this is a
Incredible.
better movie than Popcorn.
I
right?
think this is I think I would rather watch this than Popcorn. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe I should raise my. Maybe I'll go up to like a. Ooh, I don't know.
3.
Why did we give Popcorn a 4?
I don't
mean,
know.
It must have been.
You
must
gave it a
have been okay,
5,
but-
Lydia.
No, you gave it a 5. She
Oh, I
gave
gave
it
it
a
a
4.
5.
I
Oh.
gave it a 6.5. You know what? Toby carried that.
Yeah, he was
That
good.
movie.
He was good. But Popcorn is pretty bad, man. I
It
think
has
this
some
movie's
nostalgia.
better made than Popcorn. I think let's reverse the. I'm going to give Popcorn a 3, and I'll give
Nope.
this one a 5. Well, okay, so at the end of the season, we'll do like a retrospective, and we'll see if our grades still stand. Okay, how's that sound?
Okay.
Okay, that'll be
So,
fun.
I'm gonna give this a 3.
You know what time it is, don't you?
I do. It is time to Akanize this movie. So, guys, who would Tom Atkins be in Children of the Night?
There's
The
only
preacher.
one. Oh, really?
The
You're going to
preacher?
go with the secondary character.
He sleeps with his sister's or his. What is it? His brother's wife. He sleeps
Yeah,
with
that's
his
true.
brother's wife.
Sister-in-law? His brother's former roommate? I would
Good
say
line.
I'd cast him as Mark.
That's who I would cast him as, Mark.
Why not? Let him
Yeah.
back on a young chick.
He doesn't get laid though.
He does
Not-
after the movie.
Not yet, Lydia. She's got to be of age.
Come on. Listen.
He's not
Yeah.
a Billy.
Yeah, after she turns
This would have been a
18
different movie.
It would have
Listen,
been.
after she turns 18, she's definitely wetting his she's definitely wetting his steak, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. He slayed her with his steak.
That's actually when we were watching this. Jake was like, "Are they gonna like have sex so that she's not a virgin, so she will be safe?" That's
that's
where
what
Jake
they
was
do.
like, "Is that what's gonna happen here?"
That's what they do in Once Bitten. That's how
Yep,
they
that's
fight her
it.
off in Once Bitten.
That's where my mind went.
Yep.
But that would not have worked for this movie, right?
No. He
I mean,
would've
nothing
failed.
worked for this movie, so it doesn't matter. But
Yeah, that's
They
true.
would have called it the Gates Files if that would have happened.
Yeah, the Gates Files. Oh man, Officer Gates.
this was like a rated R kids movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's just because the way it was made. Like it's just because of the execution is why.
Yeah,
And
Jamie. Good.
I see where he was going. I see, like, literally, when I watched it, I felt like he was like, okay, so we want a movie like Evil Dead. Like, especially like Evil Dead 2. Let's do that. I just watched it. I'm going to throw out all my best Sam Raimi shots. But you forgot to make the story fit it, and you forgot to make the story coherent, and you forgot to have the energy behind it. Because it lacked energy.
yeah.
A Sam Raimi
comedy-
movie, yeah.
The
The
comedy
jokes didn't
bits-
land.
the jokes didn't land. It's like
Yeah.
the comedy was almost there, but none of them landed, and I mean, that's the most memorable part to me, is the jokes that didn't land, because it was so hilarious to watch them not land.
Derek, this movie also, I think, takes influence from the Phantasm sequels. Don't you kind of see that?
Yeah.
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 Like a little bit of the tone is almost We'll get into the Phantasm movies here soon. Lydia has not seen any of them, have you?
No.
So we'll get into those. But that's kind of our final thoughts on what the hell was this movie called? Children of the Night.
Wait, I got one more thought.
Go ahead.
I think that if we ever establish ourselves,
You want to remake this?
We should tackle this title.
I think we can make it fun, because I think there's good ideas.
I do too.
Just tweak a couple things, right? Lydia, you can come up with how to do new cocoons.
You want to remake it?
We can remake it.
We're going to
rewrite the script
better. Yeah.
Rewrite the script so it makes sense. You can come up with cocoon visions and makeup for vampires. We could come up with some kooky Evil Dead shots. We will totally nail
that would be pretty fun, actually.
Yeah, we'll cast Tom Atkins as Mark.
We could do a sequel.
We'll change it. So instead of Mark like being like macking on her, he'll just be like a paternal figure for her, right?
Well, he'll be the grandpa that she lives with.
Yeah, and he can hook up. He can hook up with somebody else at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we got this figured out.
There we go.
Stay tuned for our eventual remake of Children of the Night. It's gonna be a classic.
We'll call it Children of the Night: New Blood.
Oh, that's a good idea. I was gonna call it Children of the Daytime.
We'll call it There Are No Children of Anything in This Movie.
There's one, and he totally gets staked.
Adolescence. We'll call it Adolescence in the Water Crypt.
Yes, that's perfect.
Real quick, when they were swimming in that tomb, did you get any like I had flashes when they were swimming in the crypt? I was like, shit. Do you think the night shield's under there? I expected Indiana Jones to swim by. Rats everywhere. That's
funny.
But I think that's all we have to say on Adolescence of the Water Crypt. Be sure to comment.
May he rest in peace.
Who's resting in peace?
Dylan. He's dead.
Lydia and I were both like, huh?
The vampire name we can't pronounce.
Yeah.
Shabakalax.
By the way, in our remake, his name's going to be Dylan.
Yes, it will be.
That's going to be his name.
Yep.
The vampire. Dylan. We'll do like
That's a great vampire name.
We'll do a push in. So, be sure to like, subscribe, share this, folks. Get all your friends to listen to it. Share it to your grandma, because I'm sure she loves hearing us say the fuck words and talk about blood. Share it with your friends. Comment down below. We'll be announcing winners of the costume contest in the next couple episodes. Yep. So show us your pictures for your Halloween costumes for the Halloween episode. And anything else that I'm forgetting, guys?
Wouldn't that be over by now?
Well, yeah, it's over. Oh, yeah, I guess it is over, isn't it? It depends on how long we did it.
We'll have to release the contest online.
Yes.
We're so
Maybe
far
we already
ahead.
did that. Who knows? Hey,
you know what? Time is relative. We'll see what happens.
Time is relative. The body is but a vessel for the soul.
You son of a bitch.
If you just keep posting pictures of your costumes, we will just keep rating them.
Yes, we will. We will rate them all day long. We love costumes.
Right.
And you're all winners.
All winners. So like, subscribe, comment, share. We love you guys.
Wait, I got one last thought.
What? I was wrapping it up, Derek. Jesus.
I know. When she was like, she made a positive comment, so I just wanted to add to it.
Uh-huh.
I just wanted to tell everybody to take care of themselves and each other.
You interrupted me for that. You interrupted me for that Jerry Springer joke.
That's exactly what
that only we would get because we're old enough to understand.
That's right, but this is going to prompt somebody to go and Google Jerry Springer, and now we're going to reintroduce the world.
I think people know who Jerry Springer is.
Yeah, they're going to be like that country music star.
This went off the rails. I was about to end the episode. It was such a good ending. I was feeling it. I told everybody I loved them. I was heartfelt. And then you're like, Jerry Springer.
I didn't mention him by name. That was you.
Folks, this is the end of the episode now. So for Bloody Movies, this is the end. So for Lydia Judy, Derek Lemaster, I'm Jamie Hiles. Remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies. Good night, folks.